Okay, how do I even begin this? Remember last week when I was totally on my 5 a.m. high horse about going to Pilates and taking Murph to the beach for 5 hours? Maybe I mentioned it, maybe it was on Substack. I genuinely can't remember at this point. Everything's just kind of starting to blur together. But what I haven't told you is that I ended up with the worst sunburn of my entire life. I had to cancel every single Pilates class last week and just lay in full recovery mode. There were so many layers of aloe, and that didn't help at all. And now 1 week later, I'm just starting to enter the peeling phase. So this has been delightful. And if this is my karma for the motorcycle drive off, I feel very bad about what happened. And I think the sunburn is the proper consequence. And I would like my normal life to resume now. Anyway, I have something else to get off my chest before we get into anything else. And I feel a little bad saying it, but I don't think I can hold this in any longer. Okay, there is a specific type of girl I genuinely cannot handle. I don't mean this in a mean way. I mean this in a deeply concerned way. It's the girl who cannot stop talking about her future husband, and she doesn't even have a boyfriend yet. You've probably met her. You've certainly been her. Or maybe you are her right now, and that's okay too. I'm not judging you. Now, whether or not this does or does not sound familiar, it goes like this. I should go to the party because my husband might be there. I'm wearing makeup to the gym now because I might meet my husband there. I'm only going to go out because I'm not going to meet my husband sitting at home. And I just want to shake her. Gently, with love, but shake her. Because if we're being honest, this girl, when she's in that state, is not even asking for advice. She doesn't want to be told that that's not how it works. She thinks she's already got it figured out, so we'll just let her spiral and loop over and over again. And I'm just going to tell you this instead. First, just picture her for a second. She's running this old, completely outdated rom-com narrative that she is incomplete, waiting for her other half to arrive. Like, what the hell, universe? What is taking so long? She's got this permanent empty seat saved at her table, and it's for him, her future husband. He's the main event before he's even shown up. She fully believes that he's her other half, and once he finally walks in, everything is going to click into place and she'll be complete. That's the story she's been telling herself on repeat every single day, and quite frankly, it's been running the show for way too long. I simply cannot let this go on any longer because I have been there way too many times myself. It's that one specific era that we all know where you're only doing things because you want someone to show up. Now, what this girl doesn't understand yet, and I want you to really hear this part, is that her actual future boyfriend isn't going to slide into a seat she's already saved for him. What's actually going to happen is he's going to see her and he's going to move mountains to make a seat for her at his own table. That's the difference. She's sitting there thinking in terms of my husband, my future, my plan. But you need to start thinking in terms of my, his, and ours. That's when things actually start happening, babe. It can't just all be me, or him. You see what I mean there? If you actually want to do some serious manifesting, and if you are ready to actually jump timelines so your future husband can actually show up, all you have to do is take yourself out of the equation just for a second. And this is where you're going to be like, Lisa, I know you're totally right. Like, I need to start thinking about him. What does he want? What is he chasing? What lessons is he learning right now so he can finally meet me? And okay, that means you're like almost there, but let's get you the full way. The truth is this. None of those answers actually matter because the lessons he's learning right now have nothing to do with you. I mean, they do, but not yet. And you don't have to concern yourself with something that has not even happened. Seriously, you don't have time to waste spiraling about things you can't even control because your actual life is supposed to be fun, remember? So stop taking bad advice from all these anxious people who are like literally getting wrinkles. All you need to concern yourself with right now is having fun and looking hot. It's a simple formula if you actually think about it. Because if you're not giving those two things your full attention right now, you're going to end up being the girl who's been quietly saving him a seat this whole time, and then there's no chase left for him at all. If he doesn't have to do anything, if he doesn't have to move a single mountain to be with you, you're unfortunately not his dream girl, and nobody wants to be the placeholder. And if there is one thing that I know with my whole heart, is that the chase matters so much more than you think. And I know this sounds a little old-fashioned, but I fully stand by it. It's honestly a bit of a forgotten art at this point, and I think it needs a major comeback or at the very least a rebrand. Because the chase is where the payoff lives. That's where he gets to feel like he actually accomplished something, like he crossed some kind of finish line to get to you. And it's just never gonna go the way you were picturing it. Because if you're already trying to picture the whole thing, like how you're gonna meet him, what you're gonna say, what you're gonna be wearing, that's already creating some unrealistic expectations. And then you're either gonna be completely blown away or completely disappointed, when instead what you wanna do is just leave some room open for possibilities. For all we really know, you might meet your future boyfriend and have no idea it's even him yet. You just let him grow on you. Sometimes it's a slow burn, and that's a totally underrated kind of relationship that will genuinely surprise you. Or maybe he's just the guy you meet at a party and you barely exchange 10 real sentences, and then he spends the rest of the night asking everyone else about you. That's when the chase starts, when you're not putting so much pressure on this one big moment to happen and you just let it unfold. And now that brings us to my favorite part. Because there is a part I actually think matters even more than the chase, and it's the part that future husband girl completely skips. You cannot just interview guys for the husband role. That's not how any of this works. There is a whole discovery phase that has to take place where you're just getting to know someone before he even becomes your boyfriend, before he's even qualified. There can't be an agenda or an invisible scoreboard because you're cramming a relationship into a certain time frame. That's giving off desperate, and that's just not you. When you do meet a guy you actually like, you have to spend the time actually getting to learn who this person is and letting him learn who you are. And that phase is where the real us, we phase starts to build. And that happens slowly. His character is going to reveal itself to you in those small, ordinary moments over time, and you just have to let it happen. Getting to know each other is the best part, and so many people forget to leave room for it. When you do meet your next boyfriend or your future husband, you're not going to decide one day if he's the one based on whether or not he passed some invisible final round. You cannot skip the discovery phase and go straight to the ending, even though you've probably only pictured the ending. You have to actually live inside the middle part for a long time. It's the unglamorous part of a relationship, and it's completely necessary. Otherwise, there is no real substance holding you together as a couple if you haven't actually gone through something. Now, if you're anything like me and you've only pictured the ending, this is the easiest way to picture the actual middle part. This part is so important because you have to actually qualify someone if he's going to be in your life forever. I mean, come on. I really don't know why no one talks about this, but this is how I think about it. Now, I love an analogy, and this one is probably going to land exceptionally well because I would imagine you're in your wellness era right now. Okay, so picture going on a hike with someone. You planned your whole outfit, you're wearing cute bike shorts, new shoes, you're picturing the view of the ocean from the top and the conversations you'll have, and maybe a deer will even run by. But what you know for sure is the wind's going to be blowing through your hair while he looks at you and goes, "God, I'm lucky." You think the whole thing is going to be a breeze, but the reality is never what you actually pictured, because you pictured everything other than the hike itself. The actual incline, the brutal heat, the parts where you literally want to die on this hike. It's 102 degrees and you see your life flash before your eyes at one point. I have personally pictured jumping myself at some points because I simply cannot handle the heat. Like, it literally brings out the worst version of me. And trust me, I do not want anyone to see that, ever. And that's the thing about a hike. You cannot hide your real self. When you're dehydrated and you're exhausted and you want to turn back and you're dripping with sweat and you're regretting every minute of it. Can you tell that I just went on a hike last weekend and personally I'm still recovering? But knowing that this is going to happen, that the hike is way harder than you imagined, you have to ask yourself, who do you actually want hiking with you? Because there are quite a few options and not all of them are great. First, there is the guy who runs up ahead and leaves you in the dust. He's checking his watch like you're slowing down his personal best. That is usually the situationship guy. He was never actually planning this hike with you in the first place, and he let you come just because it was somehow convenient for him. Then there's the Olympic-level hiker who is secretly annoyed that you can't keep his pace. You can feel him silently calculating if he ever wants to do this again. That's the guy who thinks he's out of your league and will never let you forget it. He will make you feel like you're never good enough and have zero patience for the actual climb. And then there's the guy who complains the entire way up, so what should have taken 3 hours somehow feels like 10. That's the guy who makes everything harder than it needs to be and somehow decides it's your fault for even choosing this trail in the first place. And then there's the guy who agrees with everything you say. Actually, yeah, let's just turn around. That's the guy who people pleases his way through every part of his life. He doesn't fight for anything, he doesn't push for anything, he just looks for the nearest exit. And then finally, we meet the final guy, the one who makes all these last ones look like total losers. the one who is right there beside you the whole time. He's not ahead, he's not behind, he is beside you. And he's not complaining, he's just actually happy to be there. He's hyping you up the whole way. He's making you laugh so hard that you forget how bad your feet hurt. Somehow he's making you feel sexy and cool despite looking and feeling your absolute worst. Because that's your husband, babe, and that's how he's going to make you feel. But you have to actually take him on the hike to know that. Many, many hikes before you know which one he is. You cannot skip the hike, unfortunately. And once you get to the top, you share one of many, many victories. You made it together and you get to enjoy the view. But it's not over yet. You still have to go back down the mountain. Everyone is just there for the view, but the most important part is at the end when you're next to each other and you forget how hard it even was because you're a totally different person now. And there is an actual science behind all of this, like kind of, and I think about it constantly. Because one thing about me is I see the entire world in stories. Characters, symbols, arcs, metaphors, all of it. Because as I might have mentioned a few times, I went to film school if you didn't already know that about me. And one of the things that really stuck with me from that degree is the hero's journey. It's really just how my brain works. Like I have a cinematic brain and everything turns into a script in my head. And this concept genuinely applies to everything, not just movies. And here's how it works. This is exceptionally important for you because if you're going to start becoming the main character of your life, the one who is relentlessly pursued, you need to start acting accordingly. So first, the main character, the protagonist, I'm talking about you, starts out at rest. Life is totally normal at this point. Nothing is really happening yet. Then a challenge arises and pulls you out of that comfort zone. From there, you have to start climbing to overcome this challenge to go after what you actually want. It's all uphill, babe. No one said it's going to be easy. You're going to be presented with obstacle after obstacle. People are going to doubt you along the way. Sometimes it's going to feel like the whole world is against you. But then eventually, there is going to be one final challenge, the ultimate battle, the biggest one, right when you were about to give up. But you made it this far, why stop now? You finally reach the top, and then it's smooth sailing from there. That's the resolution. And by that point, you look back and realize that you've completely changed. Because the whole time, you've had some kind of fatal flaw that you didn't even know about. And by the end, you either fix it or you learn how to use it as your greatest strength. You are the hero of your own story, and I need you to actually hear that. You are not the supporting character in someone else's story. You're not waiting in the wings for a male lead to show up and finally hand you your plot. You have to own your story arc every step of the way. You might be in your rest state right now, and that's where you're feeling bored and uncomfortable and a little restless, and you want something to desperately happen. You have to hit a point where you actually want to go after that and make a change in your life so your challenge can actually begin. That's when you're ready to climb, and if you stick with it, despite all the odds being against you, you are going to reach the top. So picture this. This is what your hero's journey actually looks like. You start out comfortable. Maybe you're a little too comfortable. You're going through the motions of your everyday life. Then the challenge presents itself, and you have to decide if you're going to actually take action around it. The challenge that pulls you out of your rest state isn't your husband showing up and saving you. It's usually a breakup, a disappointment, some version of hitting a wall and deciding it's time to make a move. Then you climb. You date the wrong people. You learn what you actually want instead of what you thought you were supposed to want. You get hurt a few times along the way. Maybe you doubt yourself at 2 a.m. when you're crying after the bars because you didn't meet anyone that night. Your fatal flaw is usually something like needing everyone else to have the answers for you, or asking everyone else for their opinion before you just make a choice. And the whole climb is you slowly learning how to trust your own read on things instead. By the time you reach the top, you are not the same girl who started. By the end, you're so much hotter, so much cuter, and it turns out you knew the right thing to do the whole time. You just refused to listen to your own voice. That's usually how it all happens, but you went through the whole thing anyways. Now I know it sounds like there's a big lesson in there, and now you're ready to go off and start your journey. But you are just one part of it. My work here is not done. If you really want to find out why you haven't met your dream guy yet, there's also his story happening simultaneously with yours. And this is the part that no one actually walks you through properly. So let's picture him. This is your guy now. He's usually starting in some kind of comfortable rest state. He's coasting on being fine, he's being fun, he's being good enough without ever really being tested. Then someone breaks his heart, he hits a rock bottom, or his career is completely in the gutter at some point. There are going to be several mountains that he has to hike on his own before you ever even enter the picture. There's going to be other girls, there's going to be friends, there's going to be jobs, there's going to be so many things that he has to go through before he's actually ready for you. And I know you know this, you probably just haven't heard it broken down quite like this, and that's why I'm here. By the time he's ready for you, he's going to be on a whole different timeline in a completely different chapter than he is now, and that's when you're ready to appear. Once he's done the work on himself and he's gone through challenges of his own, he's going to be ready for you. And trust me when I say this, you want a guy who is actually ready for his next arc, which is you, and not a guy who is mid-crisis looking for someone to fix him. You're going to actually be able to feel those differences in him because you've already gone through your own challenges that have taught you this. And that's the guy who's actually going to be ready for his next chapter, which is building a future with you. Now, honestly, there is so much more of this that we can definitely get into. But now that you know how it works, what I really want you to understand is that you don't just get one arc and then you're healed and then you're saved and done and credits roll forever. That's not how this goes, and honestly, thank God, because that would be incredibly boring. You are going to keep overcoming things, keep unlocking new versions of yourself that you can't even picture yet. You are going to be opening new doors into new chapters that you have no way of predicting from where you're standing right now. And you want to walk through every single one of them looking as hot and cute as humanly possible, which is exactly my plan for you too. But what I want to leave you with right now is that the cool girl is so magnetic because she's living her own arc without making all of these apologies for it. She's not waiting around for someone else's plot to finally intersect with hers. She's not saving a seat for someone. She's not casting some random guy into a role that he hasn't even earned yet. She's just living her life. She's owning her story. She's taking one thing at a time. And she's on her own timeline. And that's when all these incredible things keep happening to her that she can't even explain. Like getting backstage at every concert that she didn't even buy the tickets to. So if you're nodding along right now and you're a little fired up, that's what we're going for. That's the vibe we're on right now. Anyway, we'll talk more tomorrow. I have so much more to tell you about this. Love you. Bye.